Hi everybody, it's Jason from JRB. Today we're going to be reviewing the ZIGEN HXL88 Plus 8x8 HDMI matrix switch. Plus we're going to be taking a look at their ZIGEN POC-70 Mark II and also the POC-100. Those are the ZIGEN HDMI extenders. We're going to be doing an unboxing of the products. Plus we're going to be integrating the ZIGEN HDMI matrix into a Control4 system for control. But before we do any kind of video adjustments to this device, we're going to plug it in, we're going to see what it looks like right out of the box, see how it performs. Then we're going to test it using our Meridio Fox & Hound HDMI analyzer and generator to see what kind of signal we're getting end to end. And additionally, we're going to take a look at it from a mixed display environment, because not every single house is going to have every single TV, Dolby Vision, HDR10, HDR10 Plus. We're going to be having homes that these switches are going to be going into that may have an older 1080p TV, as well as a 4K TV that doesn't support HDR, and some 4K TVs that do support HDR. So stay tuned. Our first TV here is a Sony 85-inch TV, 4K, that supports Dolby Vision. The second TV we have here is a Sony 65-inch 4K TV that supports HDR, but not Dolby Vision. Our third TV is an oldie but goodie. I don't want to get rid of it. It's the Sony 65-inch 4K TV non-HDR. Still beautiful and sounds amazing. Also, an Aquavision 1080p in-wall weatherproof TV that's very unique because it has its own HDMI extender, which also powers the TV. Lastly, a Sony 43-inch TV, 4K, non-HDR. However, the length of this one, I believe, is about 150 feet with Cat5e. So let's see how this will do. Okay, here it is, the ZIGEN HXL88 Plus 8x8 video matrix switch, which also has an audio matrix switch built into it. It supports Dolby Vision, 4K, HDMI 2.0, chroma samplings 4x4x4, 4x2x2, and 4x2x0. Supports Dolby Vision, HDR10, HDR10 Plus, and HLG. Let's check this out. Opening up for the first time. Here we have guide to the matrix switch. It's like an accessory box. Okay, and included is, looks like we got different power cords for different regions. We'll be using that one. All right. Got the power brick. I like this, the locking connector into it. That's really something I really think everybody should be doing. Got the remote. Rack ears, which is really nice. We'll be using that. That's pretty cool. Comes with an RS-232 cable. Feet. I love that you didn't put the feet on the product because this is mainly going to be going inside of a rack. So good job on that. Let's put that aside. And here is the switch itself. Nice. It's one rack unit high, which I really like. Let's open that up. Okay, beautiful. I like how you have the front buttons on it, so if there's any kind of programming you need to do, on the fly. You could do it right from here. You got your front display. You got your infrared right here. You got your power signal here. In the back, you got your 8 HDMI inputs, your 8 HDMI outputs, and there's your audio matrixing, 12 zones. There's our RS-232 connection for home connectivity or smart home integration, but also can be integrated using IP. And here's our locking power and our ground. Very nice. And here we have the Ziggin ZIG-POC-70, which means 70 meter distance, Mark II HDMI extender. So 2 of our demo TVs are going to be using this to see what we can get out of the 8x8 matrix from a extender perspective. I see here that it does support HDR10. I'm not sure if it supports HDR10 or Dolby Vision, so we're definitely going to test this thing out. But let's do the unboxing. Okay. So we got the instruction manual. Just gotta say, I love these instruction manuals. They're not the big giant papers that you open up. It's a booklet, and they're in color, which is great. So good job, guys. All right, let's look at all the accessories. It comes with the infrareds or IRs. Okay, so this looks like the power brick connection. All right, so it's going to be, we'll be using this one. Also comes with feet if you need those. Here's the power brick itself. Let's open that up. Again, love this. Great job, guys, on the locking connection. All right, and oh, we also have an IR receiver that it comes with. That's pretty sweet, guys. All right, and we also have the additional different types of plugs for different types of regions, it looks like. Yep, they're all inside here. These things are massive. Like, who uses a plug like this? That's just, like, that's so... And this guy. All right. So let's take a look at the unit itself. So this looks like the extender itself, where the source will be plugged into. I also like how you have the wall mounting ears onto it, which is great. We have the RS-232 pass-through, so if you want your home automation system to also control your display through the extender, you can. We have the HD-Base-T input right here. You got your infrared IRs in and IRs out. Also gives you a nice diagram of how you should be using it or setting it up. It's pretty nice. And you have your feedbacks right here. Very cool. And there's your HDMI out. All right. So this is actually the this would be the receiver. This would be where the TV would be, or the display would be connected. Okay. And this is what the source would be plugged into. Again, same configuration, same layout, but this is the input. The other one is an output. Okay. HD-Base-T out, IR out, IR in, RS-232, HDMI in, power, link, and HDCP. Okay, so we now have our Ziggin 8x8 HDMI matrix switch plugged into our test rack. And as you can see here, we have 2 Roku Ultras plugged into it, as well as 2 Apple TV 4Ks. Additionally, we have our Control4 EA5, which is HDMI out. And we have a Lumina NVR for security cameras, as well as our Sony 800 Mark II Ultra HD Blu-ray player. the one thing, and there are many things that I love about this switch, is the ability to totally control it by using the front display. So if I wanted to change any of these inputs to make them go to any of these outputs, it is so simple. All I have to do is press that video button here and say, have input 1 go to output 3. And you can see that input 1 is going to output 1, 3, and 4. But let's say if I wanted input 4 to go to output 1, now you can see that input 4 is going to output 1 and 2, because 2 has already been selected. But you can see here if I press 1, you know, these aren't lighting up anymore, showing that they're not now connected. So from an integration perspective, this is absolutely key. This is awesome. So you don't have to have any kind of control system tied to it. You can manually do it all right here before you start tying any kind of control. So great job, guys.
So now that we have the ZIGEN 8x8 installed into the rack and on our network, we're now going to want to configure it to work with our Control 4 system. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the Ziggin website and download the ZigNet Finder. Click Run Anyway. Once you've installed it, I place it onto our desktop for ease of access and ease of use during configuration. Double click on it, and you're going to see Windows Defender Firewall pop up. Just click on Allow Access. After you're done doing that, you're going to want to click that search icon on the top left. Give it some time. It's going to search for the 8x8 matrix on the network. Once it's found it, it's going to give you the IP address. From there, you're going to want to open up a browser. In this case, we're using Google Chrome, and you're going to want to type in that IP address into your browser to access the 8x8 matrix. Good news is that when accessing it, you don't need a username or password. Once you see the GUI or graphic user interface for the ZigNet, you're going to want to click that settings icon on the top. Once you click on that, you're going to want to scroll down to where it shows if there's any firmware updates available. And in this case, there is. So click on Update. And you're going to want to do this before doing any configurations to the device itself. Wait a little bit of time, be very patient, and don't close your browser. And then you're going to see that the update was successful because it shows that there's no additional firmware updates available. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change our IP address from DHCP to static. In this case, we're going to set it to 10.2.10.80. Not only is this going to make it easier for us to find, but we'll be able to integrate it with Control 4. So then go to the Ziggin website again and download the Control 4 driver, double click on it, and it's going to open up a new window to the website Intrinsic. Once you're there, log in. If you already don't have a username and password, you're going to have to create one. And once logged in, you're going to want to click on Purchase or Buy License Key. Good news. There's no cost to it. So once you click on that icon, you're going to see a new page open up, and it's going to ask you for the MAC address of your Control 4 controller. In this instance, we're using a Control 4 EA5, so you're going to want to open up System Manager, get the MAC address from System Manager, and type it into Intrinsic's website. Once that information is inputted into their website, you're now going to be moved over to the next page, and you're going to be able to download the driver itself. The website's going to bring you to a Dropbox page, and then from there you're going to extract that zip file, and you can see there the HXL88 Plus driver for Control 4. Now you're going to want to open up Control 4's Composer software, and you want to click on Driver and Add or Update Driver, and you're going to want to add that driver that was just downloaded to your Control 4 controller. Then you're going to want to go to Search, type in Ziggin, and you should see the driver right there. Just add it to your project. Once it's added to your project, add the IP address that we just created, which in this case was 10.2.10.80. Now just connect your sources and monitors.
Okay, so this is it. We have the Ziggin switch plugged into our rack. We have it tied into 5 displays, one being 4K Dolby Vision, one being 4K HDR10, 2 being 4K Non Hdr, and 1 being 1080p. Additionally, we have 2 Roku Ultras plugged into it, 2 Apple TV 4Ks plugged into it, a Sony 800 Mark II Ultra HD Blu-ray player, a Lumina NVR, and a Control4 EA5 for our navigation. So this is the part where it's usually plug and pray. I'm hoping that it's plug and play. So let's go check out what kind of information that we're going to be getting from analyzing the signal coming in from visually and also using our Meridio analyzer. And let's see if we're getting the same output of these devices going through the switch. Okay, so we're here at the 4K TV that does support HDR, and I want to take a look at what it looks like visually before testing what kind of signal we're getting. So right now we have the Control4 GUI on the TV, and this GUI should be putting out 1080p. So if I press the display button on the Sony TV, we can see here that we are getting 1080p HD. And let's go put on a movie that is in 4K and in HDR, and let's see the TV switch detecting that we are switching from SDR to HDR. So let's go to Watch. We're going to go to Apple TV. All right. And let's watch some Terminator Dark Fate. Let's resume the movie. So you can see here the image disappeared. It lost sync with the TV, which means it's switching from SDR to HDR. And you can see we have 3840 by 2160p on the TV, and that clearly is an HDR. You could see the dark blacks in the bottom. You could see the contrast within the screen. It looks fantastic. So now that Terminator Dark Fate is playing from the Apple TV 4K onto our display here, we know that we're getting HDR, we know that we're getting 4K resolution. Let's see what our analyzer says. So while the movie's playing, I'm going to unplug the HDMI cable here. I'm going to plug it into our analyzer. I'm going to press that resync button. And then once I get the movie playing on here, I'm going to press that info button, and we should see exactly what we're getting. So I press info. We're getting 3840 by 2160p. We're getting 442 BT 2020, and we are getting HDR10 at 17.8 gigs or 18 gigs. So we're getting exactly what this device is bringing out. So fantastic. Okay, so you can see that our HDMI line is plugged into our analyzer, and we can see that Terminator Dark Fate is playing from the Apple TV 4K. And if I press this here info button, we can see that we are getting 3840 by 2160. We are getting 422 at BT 2020, and we are getting 17.80 gigs, or like I'd like to say, 18 gigs, and HDR10 as well. So everything that Apple TV has been putting out is what we're getting from the Ziggin switch. Okay, now we're at the Sony 4K TV that doesn't support HDR. However, we're using the Ziggin POC-70 Mark II HDMI extender going to this TV. Now, this TV is using Cat5e, but it's only about 50 feet, so let's see what we get. I'll turn on our Control4 on-screen navigator. Okay, we can see here that we're getting 1080p and picture looks fantastic. Disregard those lines going across the TV. This is probably about a 10-year-old 4K TV. This was one of the first ones that we got in stock when we became a Sony dealer. And I have a sentimental attachment to this TV, and though my wife wants me to have it repaired or changed out, I can't do it. So anyway, so disregard those lines. So anyway, so we see that we are getting 1080p from the Control4 EA5. Now let's go into watch, and let's go to our Apple TV. Let's see what we get here. Okay, switched pretty good. And you can see here we're getting 3840 by 2160p. And though this TV is a 4K TV, again, it's a non HDR TV. So we are going to start Terminator Dark Fate. And let's see what it looks like. Now the picture looks fantastic. And clearly that we could see 3840 by 2160p. So real happy. All right, so now while the movie's playing, let's plug our analyzer into the HDMI line and let's see what we're getting, not only from the Apple TV that's playing right now. Now remember, it's non-HDR, okay? But also we're going through the Ziggin POC Mark II 70 meter HDMI extender using Cat5e. So let's see what we get here. I'm going to unplug our HDMI line from the back of the TV. If I can get my hand behind there. Let's plug it into our analyzer. Okay, now we have the analyzer plugged into the Ziggin POC-70 Mark II extender that's also going through the ZIGEN HXL88 Plus HDMI matrix. And we have video on here from the Apple TV. And we're going to press that info button here. And when pressing it, we can see we are getting 3840 by 2160p. We are getting 422 BT 2020 at 17.80 or 18 gig. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So we are matching what we're getting from a direct HDMI line, even though we're going through an extender 50 feet using Cat5e. Awesome. Okay, we are now at the 4K TV that is non-HDR, that is the furthest away from the Ziggin switch, and is using the Ziggin POC-70 Mark II extender. And this Cat5 line has been measured at 148 feet. So I was close to that 150 feet estimate. So let's go see what it looks like. I'm going to press the Control4 button to turn on the on-screen navigator. And we do have it. That's great. I'm going to click on display. We should be getting 1080p HD. Let's click on watch. And let's go to our Apple TV. All right. And let's go up to our Voodoo. Let's continue watching Terminator Dark Fate. Perfect picture. Now you notice that it hasn't switched from SDR over to HDR, because remember, this TV is a 4K TV, however, it is non-HDR. Okay, so with our analyzer plugged in, we see that we're getting video from the Apple TV 4K downstairs. And I'm going to press that info button. Let's see what we get. Okay, as you can see here, we have 3840 by 2160p, 422 at BT 2020, 17.80 gig or 18 gig. Now that's from about 148 feet of Cat5e using the Ziggin POC-70 Mark II extender going through the HDMI switch. Now it's recommended by Ziggin to use Cat6, and I would definitely do that in any kind of new installations. Okay, last but not least is our very unique Aquavision Nexus TV, which is a 1080p panel. And this TV is very special, again, because it uses its own proprietary HD-based T extender that not only sends the video signal over Cat5, but it also powers the TV over Cat5. So let's turn this guy on, and let's see what we get here. Okay, so we got 1080p at 60 hertz, and let's put on a 4K movie. Our Terminator Dark Fate demo movie. All right, watch that. And just like promised, the ZIGEN HDMI matrix switch will down convert 4K signal down to 1080p for displays that don't accept 4K. Okay, so from the perspective of quality, ease of use, ease of installation, the ZIGEN 8x8 and also the ZIGEN 4x4 HDMI matrix was flawless, really was perfect. There were no issues with plugging things in, there was no issues with controlling it, and no configurations have to be done to this whatsoever. The only thing that would have to be done from a programming perspective is to unlock Dolby Vision, which I'll link that video here. And that's it. So nothing was configured from a video perspective on this switch. And I was getting HDR, full 4K at these displays. The system was switching really easily. The extenders, no adjustments, no tuning them in, none of that. You plugged it in and it worked. And in this scenario, we're using Cat5e, which is recommended to use Cat6. But even with Cat5e, I was at 148 feet using the 70 meter Mark II extender, and I got exactly what I was getting down here using a direct HDMI line. So now I've talked about a mixed display environment, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So like I said in the beginning of this video, not every single install is going to have every single TV being HDR and Dolby Vision. There are certain scenarios where you're going to have a 4K that's Dolby Vision, a 4K that's HDR, a 4K that's nothing, a 1080p TV. That's all going to have to work within this mixed display environment. So this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to set up for that from a source perspective. Again, this is nothing that the ZIGEN switch can do. This is something that you're going to have to do as an integrator. So I'm a visual person, so let's go take a look at that.
So as you can see here in the perfect world, every single TV is 4K, can support HDR, and every device that's plugged into our ZIGEN 8x8 switch should be configured for that. It should be configured for 4K, and also to automatically switch from SDR to HDR when HDR is available. So this is a perfect scenario. However, like I talked about before, there's times where we're going to have a mixed display environment, and this is so easy. All you would have to do is add additional devices, configure those devices to be 4K SDR, and lock them that way. And within Control4 programming or Savant or RTI, configure your control system to only have the SDR devices available to TVs that can only handle SDR, and have the HDR devices available to monitors that can support HDR. And that's it. Really simple.
Okay, so I've been integrating for over 19 years, and I have installed many HDMI matrix switches. Those HDMI matrix switches, a lot of configurations would have to be done to them in regards to equalization, distance settings on them. There was a lot of things that had to be configured on these HDMI matrices, which could definitely make installation process very difficult. and cumbersome. And the question is will these HDMI matrices continue to work the following day or when you leave? This here ZIGEN HXL88 Plus was the first HDMI matrix switch that I plugged in, connected the devices, turned on, and it worked perfectly with no configurations whatsoever. No programming needed, nothing. The only thing that had to be done was the IP address had to be set to static so the home automation system can control it. That's it. This thing is plug and play. I have watched probably every single Ziggin training video, and when Vanessa and Ed are doing these videos, they definitely talk about the plug and play perspective of this particular device. I find that their videos just need to be 30 seconds long. It should be, hey, everybody, we're going to get together. We're going to do a training video. Plug it in and turn it on. Have a nice day. Because that's exactly what I experienced here. The thing was flawless. It passed HDR. It passed Dolby Vision. It's fantastic. It did 420, 422, 444 through the switch. The Fox and Hound analyzer was reading what these sources are putting out through the switch. Additionally, the HDMI extenders were working just as good as using a direct HDMI cable. I can't say anything bad about this thing. I can only say everything good about this. Fantastic device. Additionally, there's a diagnostics tool that comes with this device, and it's absolutely awesome. So what the diagnostics tool will do is it will read everything from your source and also read everything from your displays. And that's great from a troubleshooting perspective, additionally from a remote perspective. So if your dealers or integrators are installing a particular device and they're having trouble with a source or a display, you're able to log into this device remotely and see exactly what the display can handle or if the source is working. For example, I unplugged a Roku Ultra from a Pioneer Elite receiver and directly plugged it into the Ziggin switch. I didn't reboot it, I didn't do anything. When I was setting everything up into Control 4, I noticed that I wasn't getting any video from the Roku. So the first thing that I did was, before I go down and reboot it, before I touch anything, let me open up this diagnostics tool. And it showed me that, yes, we're connected, but it was showing faults on HDCP and the video connections on it. So it was telling me that, yes, there's a problem with this thing. Not the switch, but the Roku itself. So I believe it was still handshaking with the Pioneer. So of course I go downstairs and I rebooted and everything came back to life again. However, I was able to see that within a diagnostics tool. So I'm going to put that video on here now. And while I catch up on this movie, you guys can watch that. So if there's any HDMI matrix to get this one. All right, so currently I'm integrating the ZIGEN HXL88 Plus into a Control 4 system just so I can control the switching for our test displays. And in doing so, I have two Apple TVs, two Rokus, a Lumina DVR, and the Control 4 EA5 GUI plugged into the 8x8 matrix. And one of the Rokus wasn't working, so just to play around, I clicked into diagnostics here. And you can see, source 1, everything is all good. Source 2, everything's good. Source 3, everything's good. Once I go to source 4, you can see that all switches to false. And that's the Roku that I'm having problems with right now. And I've been downstairs at our rack and unplugging it and rebooting it and checking the HDMI cable. And it looks to be all fine. However, I'm not getting video from the device itself. So from a remote perspective, this is a great tool. And again, I'm just playing around with it right now because I'm just trying to get video up onto our monitors, and has nothing to do with the Ziggin. The Ziggin's doing fantastic. It's the source itself, but this was able to confirm what I'm seeing, which is really nice. So good job, guys.